What if I told you that just one knock on the door could decide between life and death? Would you believe it? Edmundston, New Brunswick, a quiet border town between Canada and the United States. But on the night of the 4th of June 2020, that peace was shattered. Cold rain poured down, tapping against rooftops, sliding into the empty streets. The dim glow of streetlights spilled across the worn wooden steps of a 3-story building. On the top floor, a young woman lay restless, unable to sleep. How is Canada's policing system handling people at their most fragile moments? In 2021, Chantel's family filed a lawsuit against the city and Constable's son, accusing them of negligence and lack of training. The city and son denied responsibility. To this day, the case has not been resolved. In 2023, New Brunswick signed an agreement with Nova Scotia to establish a new oversight agency for serious incidents. But the haunting question lingers. Will it be enough to stop this from happening again? Because beneath every explanation, every report, every legal defense, lies one brutal truth. An Indigenous woman lost her life when the police were only supposed to check if she was safe. Chantel Moore is gone. But the question, why, still echoes. And in the rain of Edmundston, along the quiet streets of New Brunswick, in the hearts of everyone who once knew and loved her, that question may never be answered. Her name was Chantel Moore, 26 years old, a member of the Tela-o-Kwiat First Nation. She had just moved here to be closer to her mother and her little daughter. It should have been a new beginning, a peaceful chapter. But instead of celebrating a housewarming the night before, Chantel confided to her boyfriend in Montreal, trembling that someone had been harassing her, that someone was trying to break in. Her boyfriend panicked. He picked up the phone, called Edmundston police, and asked for a wellness check. In his mind, it was simple. I just protected the woman I love. But what he didn't know was that this call would become his last goodbye. Around 2 a.m., the knock on the door echoed heavy, urgent. A freezing wind slipped through the cracks. Chantel staggered to her feet, dark circles under her eyes, her hand clutching a kitchen knife. Maybe for protection. Outside stood Constable Jeremy's son, a veteran officer, an instructor in use of force. But that night, he carried no taser, no pepper spray, no baton. The only weapon at his side was a handgun. The door opened. The weak, yellow light from inside met the damp, suffocating darkness of the hallway. Their eyes locked. Lâche le couteau. The command, in French, drop the knife. But Chantel kept moving forward. Maybe she didn't understand. Maybe she panicked. Or maybe the pounding rain and the frantic beating of her heart drowned out every word. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Bang, 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 bang. 4 deafening gunshots tore through the narrow hallway. Chantel's body collapsed onto the cold concrete floor. Blood spread into a dark pool beneath the dim streetlight. It was over in just seconds. The news spread like wildfire. Indigenous woman shot dead during a wellness check. The public was stunned. Her family shattered, screaming in disbelief. She was small. She only had a knife. Why didn't they use something else? Why no body cameras? How could a wellness check end like this? Anger ignited across Indigenous communities. From Vancouver to Halifax, protests erupted. Marches began healing. Walks filled the streets. Canada's Minister of Indigenous Services, Mark Miller, didn't mince words. I cannot understand how a person dies during a wellness check. But then came the official version. Quebec's Independent Investigations Bureau declared the officer's actions reasonable. That he was backed into a 3rd-floor balcony. That Chantel, with a knife in hand, was a deadly threat advancing rapidly. And so, the law allowed him to shoot. Her family wept reasonable. They looked at old photos of Chantel, her warm smile, her kind eyes, her small frame. And the only thing that felt reasonable to them was the injustice Indigenous families had seen far too often. A coroner's inquest later made 20 recommendations. More tasers, pepper spray, collapsible batons. More training in crisis intervention. The truth was brutal. When Chantel died, the Edmundston police force had only 1 working taser. After her death, they raised the number to 4. But for Chantel's mother, for her daughter, Those numbers meant nothing. They couldn't fill the hollow ache of loss. Just a week earlier in Toronto, another tragedy. Regis Korchinski-Paquet, a Black Indigenous woman, also died during a police intervention. 2 deaths, back to back, became an alarm bell ringing across the nation.